We're looking at Wednesday, September 25th. Welcome back to the Damon Brew Show, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches. Great to have you here. Hit that like and subscribe button, getting closer and closer to 24,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of you who are already in the circle of love. There is much more room if you are not. Thank you so much for being here, and we are going to have Guy Haberman joining us a little bit later than we expected. I thought we would start the show with Guy. He said he ran into a little bit of a scheduling snafu. He'll be joining us in just a little bit. We have a few things to discuss, obviously, until Guy gets here. And a lot of it is going to be around the 49ers, of course, because that is always the main topic during football season around these parts. And man, it has just been an awkward start. There's no denying that. And finding out that Christian McCaffrey is in Munich right now, getting his Achilles looked at, is hardly reassuring to a whole bunch of people who drafted him high in fantasy football and, you know, the team that traded for him in reality football. Christian McCaffrey playing no role in this season dramatically shapes anyone's expectations for this season, does it not? It has to. So that, if he were to really become a name that we didn't see at all this year, well, that's simply devastating. I mean, there's no other way around it. Now, Jordan Mason has done an incredible job in the early going here, filling in. But there is a huge gulf between the talent of Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. One guy unlocks the entire depth of Kyle Shanahan's playbook. The other guy is a really good running back. It's something that is concerning, to say the least, that Christian McCaffrey, might be closer to what? Calling it a career and retiring than returning to the Niners, as I saw one story pointed out. No, I don't think we're there yet. I think it's a little clutching the pearls to say that we're there that close to this being the reality right now. It is not. I'm not that worried. But boy, when that plane lands from his trip in Germany, we'll know a lot more, right? Very, very concerning, to say the least. Javon Hargrave, done for the entire year. Already did a wake up with Kruger this morning. I floated this theory. He didn't really subscribe to it, called it a little wishful thinking on my part. But I'm looking for some elements of, okay, maybe this is going to be good around a team where not a lot of going to be good has been on display so far this year. Look, Javon Hargrave has been a letdown. He's been a letdown. And even though he continues to underperform, he is asked to keep going out there. Is that taking more valuable snaps away from Malik Collins or Jordan Elliott? You know, you want as much depth as you can get as a defensive line on your football team. You don't want to not have Javon Hargrave, but if you didn't have him and it meant more playing time for guys who were off to better starts than he was, is that so bad? Again, I was saying, if you had to vote a defensive starter off the island, Survivor style, he would have been in the conversation. He would have been in the conversation. The amount of money that they're paying him, I think, kept him in a status that his play didn't allow him to really occupy. So maybe there's the good news there. And what I really hope doesn't turn into bad news at any point in time, what I really hope doesn't disintegrate, is the news that, Brock Purdy had an MRI on his sore back. He's been listed as day-to-day. They're saying that, the results were good. Super duper. All I can tell you is that in the awkward start to this year, it feels like downplaying injuries has been a little bit of what the Niners have been about. Maybe it's just the sting of Christian McCaffrey's absence making me feel that way, but I hope they're not downplaying any severity to Brock Purdy's sore back. He got hit enough times, I would think, in that LA game to where I understand if he has it. Here come the New England Patriots. This is a team that the 49ers are better than. Even in the state of the 49ers, there's no doubt they have the better football team than the New England Patriots. They better perform to that way. I mean, they really do. This is a team that is ill-equipped to go over the top of a defense that's having trouble defending a vertical passing game right now. They're ill-equipped to do that with their weapons, with Jacoby Brissett, with an offensive line that doesn't give a quarterback, 3.5 to 5 seconds to find a target deep downfield. They just have an awful offensive line. What they do have is a really good running back in Ramondre Stevenson. And the 49ers need to shut him down. If they do, they should win this game. By a point total that would make me feel good about betting on it, well, we'll talk about that in just a second. But let me tell you, it is always good to have you here. It is always good to direct you to the single most delicious lunch that you could possibly have today, and that is a sandwich from Ike's. My man Ike has got something delicious for you, literally with my name on it. You can go and order a Damon Bruce. You can order sandwiches that are made to your liking. Maybe you're one of them vegetarians, for God's sakes. We just found that out about Brody Brazil the other day. Shame on him. Brody Brazil has vegetarian options waiting for him at Ike's. You have that waiting for you. I want you to know that Ike's is not just something you should think about for lunch, but for dinner. You got some really big boy sandwiches that absolutely passes dinner for Ike's as well. So get yourself to Ike's, and let me just remind you one more time that if you use the promo code SAT3, SAT3, on a Saturday between now and October 5th, you get $3 off of each and every sandwich that you order at Ike's. $3 off. Unfortunately, the Santa Rosa, San Mateo, and the Redwood City locations don't participate in this extraordinary offer available at all the other Ike's. But use SAT3 after you have downloaded that new app of his. It is fantastic. You will be happy that you're using it. You will earn your way towards free sandwiches. I got myself a free ticket to go see the A's last night home game this evening. I am going over to the Coliseum. I am going to be sitting with my friends from the Dubliner at the Coliseum tonight. And they ordered one of those. They pretend that they're luxury boxes at the Coliseum, but they got a box, and they asked me to come along. And I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my boys at the Dubliner. You come and hang out at the Dubliner in West Portal the next chance you get. It's an awesome bar, great vibes. It's everything that you'd want in a bar, sitting there just waiting for you at the Dubliner in West Portal. So you go check them out. And again, you want to support the show, support my sponsors. And, I forgot to tell you that today's live stream is being powered by BetUS. There they are. Hello, BetUS. I will leave your logo up for the remainder of the show. I'm sorry I didn't have you up right at the get-go. Let's look at what we got going on come Thursday night football. Dun, 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 dun. Well, that's Monday Night Football. Cowboys and Giants are going to get us going this week. Cowboys and Giants, you know what? I would absolutely lay the 5.5. Dak beats the New York Giants. He does. The Cowboys have been doing a lot of, like circular firing squad, pointing at each other, accusing everyone of having a bad game. They've lost 2 games in a row now at home after opening up in Cleveland with a big win in week 1. They've been embarrassed at home now 2 weeks in a row. Cowboys get it right. I think they do. I think they get it right. I maybe will put some action down on that a little bit later on this week. But looking ahead, is there anything that jumps out to you here? Look at these games. Anything that jumps out? Cincinnati -4 against Carolina. Boy, Carolina looked better with Andy Dalton. Bengals look like they're a little bit of a mess right now. Cannot help but notice, even with all of the problems around the San Francisco 49ers, they have the biggest line to cover this week, which is why if I were betting this game right now, I would really look at New England plus the 10 and then hoping that the 49ers actually win the game. Chargers +9. For the Chiefs, they're going to be without their safety. That was a little bit of a let's help you out Kansas City suspension to Derwin James. But anyway, some interesting games coming up this weekend. We're not ready to lay it and play it right now. But when you are, please check out BetUS and know that if you use promo code YouTube150, you get a 150% deposit match on your first deposit up to $2,000 and then a 125% deposit match on your following 2 deposits up to $2,000. So check out BetUS for all your line play prop action this football season. And again, thanks to my sponsors all the way around from Ike's to we got the skills report. The more I see that BetUS logo, the more I'm tempted to try it. See, that's how advertising works, baby. That's how advertising works. But thank you. Rockin' New Era wants to know, did Otani use BetUS? No, he had a fall guy. He used his interpreter, obviously. But thank you. Check out BetUS. It's a great website if you want to go ahead and get good lines, easy interface, great payouts, and all that stuff. Check it out. Thank you for being here, checking us out. If you were coming to get to Guy Haberman, he'll be joining us in just a little bit. We got Niner Empire 101 says, get this ship to 25,000 subs. That's going to be the goal. 25,000 subs before Halloween. We are on our way to 24. If 30 of you who are watching, who are not subscribed, decide to subscribe today, we're going to get to 24,000 subs by bedtime tonight. And then 25. I'd love to see that happen in a little bit over a month's time. So we got some nice mile markers coming up here. And thanks again for the support, for the love, for watching. It means an awful lot. We are absolutely growing the channel. And it's your support that is making that happen. Again, we're not doing this. We're just Otani uses steroids. Stop it, Skills. He's maybe the one thing in baseball that I actually like right now. So don't take it away from me. Although tell that to an A's fan, right? We'll tell that to an A's fan. Don't take them away from you. Well, they're gonna. But I still don't think they're done. Am I seriously going to my last game ever at the Coliseum? I don't know. I wouldn't make that bet because there is nothing the Oakland A's can't screw up. But anyways, that'll be a little bit later on in the show. David Ryder says, if you were in a 17-lap race, would you rather have mechanical troubles in the early laps or in the late ones? I think Kyle will get the engine humming. And look, I think that is the only reasonable way that you can look at this season so far. I just described it to Larry on Wake Up like this. Imagine the entire NFL season is a drive from San Francisco to San Jose. You leave San Francisco. You leave the Presidio in San Francisco to drive down to San Jose. You're not even past the airport yet. That's how early on in this journey the 49ers truly are. And as the title of today's thumbnail suggests, the only way out of this bad start is through it. There is no getting out of this season. The 49ers will not be forfeiting the remainder of their games in any capacity. The only way out of it is through it. And there is so much to still get through to try to be just nothing but doom and gloom right now on the Niners. It's a bit much. I would suggest you dial back the doom and gloom under the premise of we haven't even kicked off week 4 yet. So there's that. There's also a different 49er team that I think is going to be hitting the field in just a week or two. Hopefully that includes Ricky Pearsall. Hopefully this includes a trust in Jacob Cowing that needs to materialize. Hopefully this includes better offensive and defensive line play. Hopefully this includes Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley having a better plan in their defense to slow teams down. I do think we're looking at a puzzle in its early stages that look like, oh man, this jigsaw puzzle is missing too many pieces. Should we even bother doing it? It's not going to turn out the way I want it. If I'm the 49ers, I don't worry about the Super Bowl at all anymore. Try and get right each and every week. This is a big get right game against the New England Patriots, and you got to get right. So hopefully that is in store for the Niners. Again, I wish I had more empirical evidence to offer you other than hope, but that's where this year has really begun. Because unfortunately, the Niners have not reflected the best version of themselves to us yet. Hasn't happened. We haven't seen it. And a lot of people say, well, if we haven't seen it, we might not see it. Hey, you could be right. You could be right. But man, I hope you're not. I don't think you are. And I do believe that there is a much better football team in this locker room than we have seen through the first 3 weeks. True Blue offering up a little advice here. Yeah, wait until you lose to the Patriots before you start crying that the sky is falling. Now, if they were to blow the game to the Patriots, if the Patriots come in here and the Niners are sitting at 1-3, Yeah, we will talk about how
Maximum Football
may not be arriving this year. Maximum football might be off the table for the 49ers if they do blow a game to the New England Patriots. That can't happen. You know, it's ridiculous to say that you have to, right? It's ridiculous to say that you have to beat the Patriots in week 4 to get to 2-2. But it's a pretty close. It's as close to a must-win as a team that is not in a mathematical must-win situation can really get. You know, we got Robert saying it's not even necessarily a lock that Purdy is going to play either. Lock, no. But I guarantee you Purdy practices today and he'll be out there. I don't think that there is going to be a Brock Purdy was a scratch to this week. I would be shocked. And if there is that, then the 49ers are officially in the business of downplaying injuries, and there needs to be a league investigation about their transparency. Because they told us the MRI came back pretty damn good, pretty damn clean, couldn't have gone much better. So if for whatever reason he's not out there, that would be bad. Mike says, Damon, great show yesterday with Brody. You guys are awesome. That was an awful lot of fun. It was great having Brody on. We need to do that again sometime soon. God, going to the A's game tonight. Emotions will be in the air. Emotions will be in the air. I see a lot of fans who are like, "Are they changing their colors?" I don't think so. I don't know. I don't. Again, what I'm going to do less and less now than ever before is care about what the A's do or look like. That's just basically the state of baseball right now in my life. I've never cared less about baseball. If you'd come up to 10-year-old Damon and said, "What's your favorite sport in the world?" I would have told you it's baseball without a doubt. Okay, well, now that you're a 49-year-old man, how would you stack it up? I'd say baseball is fourth in the sports I care about. The sports I care about are football, basketball. Well, I'd put college football and college basketball ahead. So now I guess that makes baseball fifth. Baseball is the sport I care about the fifth most. And I don't know how they're going to climb back to number one. I don't think that that's even out there for them on the chessboard. So it's baseball officially matters less than it ever has. You can just see it. The closer and closer we get to the end of the season, the more and more people are just pulling away, starting to pay attention to other things. But we'll be taking you inside the Coliseum tonight. We will be sharing moments of people's pain. Is that? I mean, that's God. John Fisher, such a dick. Such a dick. Chef A was like, "Hey, fantastic game last night. Yeah, a little walk off. I hope I get to hear Celebrate tonight." Sean Shepard says, baseball is the next radio. Well, Sean, what is going to hurt radio's future is that fewer and fewer people are choosing to advertise on it, and fewer members of a younger generation are paying attention to it. And if they're not paying attention to it now, it means they won't really be paying attention to it when they're adults, which is more of a reason why there'll be less advertising. It's the successful business model that radio has leaned into throughout its history has changed dramatically. And that's not even a shot. That's just facts of the state of business. This is something that Brody Brazil and I were talking about. Our careers have changed. Part of our career change is directly related to traditional media is undergoing a change that is so extreme and rapid that, you can't help but get caught up in it. It's nuts. It's nuts what's going on. But, I did bring this up to get it back to the Niners and your level of doom and gloom that you're currently attaching to this team. Let me give you this. Right now, through 3 weeks of play, we have had some big shifts in Super Bowl odds. For example, the Vikings went from 50-1 to 28-1. Their 3-0 start is being saluted. Vikings go from 50 to 1 to win the Super Bowl to 28 to 1. The Steelers have gone from 50 to 1 to win the Super Bowl to 33 to 1. They're off to a 3-0 start. The Commanders have gone from 200 to 1 to 100 to 1. And we've had some teams that their bad starts have watched their odds fall. The Buccaneers got off to a 2-0 start. They lose at home to an 0-2 Denver team, and their odds go from 35 to 1 to 60 to 1. So it just took 4 bad quarters against a winless team. This is a team that was 2-0. 4 bad quarters at home against the Denver Broncos, and they watch their odds go from 35 to 1 to 60 to 1. The Raiders go from 101 to 150 to 1. The Titans go from 250 to 1 to 401. The 1-1 49ers lose in objectively horrific fashion in Los Angeles to a team that was more beat up than they were. The 49ers Super Bowl odds have not changed. What does that mean? They are still second in odds to win the Super Bowl at 1-2. With all of their problems, with the knowledge that Las Vegas has that Brock Purdy's got a sore back, and Christian McCaffrey is over in Munich right now getting his knee looked at. And oh, by the way, Javon Hargrave is lost to the year to a torn triceps. And oh, by the way, the defense has been unimpressive. And oh, by the way, Trent Williams is hardly up to speed. And oh, by the way, Brandon Ayuk doesn't even look like Brandon Ayuk anymore. Not yet anyways. And Vegas is factoring in all of those things, and the 49ers odds have not changed. I mean, I guess, put that in your pipe and smoke it. What does that mean? What does it get you? Nothing. Rockin' New Era. I thought Guy Haberman was going to be on. Well, I thought he was going to be on right at the top of the show. Guy texted me about 20 minutes before the show started, said, Damon, I kind of screwed up my morning a little bit. I got to do something. Can I join you around 11:30-ish, which we're getting closer to? So hopefully Guy is going to be showing up here in just a little bit. I want to talk to him, obviously, about the Niners, his trip to Bloomington. And, man, another thing that we got to talk a little bit about today, as I vamp, waiting for Guy to get here, have you seen this story? That is, the first kind of its kind in sports, where a college football team has a player say, even though we started the year 3-0, I'm not really happy with my NIL deal, and I'm out. I'm out. And this isn't some backup. This isn't some other guy. This is the starting quarterback of UNLV. Was it Sluka? Matthew Sluka has an NIL dispute right now, and he says that even though the Runnin' Rebs are undefeated at this time, there are unfulfilled verbal NIL promises, and an assistant coach promised him something that hasn't been delivered, and Sluka's agent, Marcus Cromartie, told ESPN that UNLV didn't come through on a verbal offer of $100,000 from an assistant coach. The quarterback's father, Bob Sluka, told ESPN that head coach Barry Odom later said in a phone conversation that the offer wasn't valid because it didn't come from him, but rather offensive coordinator Brandon Marion, who declined to comment. So you have an assistant coach promising a level of money to a quarterback that the quarterback notices, this is not in my bank account. And so what? I'm out? I'm going to redshirt? I'm transferring? Goodbye? That is a whole new world for college football to be living in. I really, really like player empowerment. But what I don't think I like at all is a player being able to just peace out on his team in the name of my money ain't right, or it isn't what was promised to me, and that's just a bad look. I mean, there is going to be some things about NIL that really work well, and there is going to be other elements of NIL that are going to sort of materialize as a disaster. And I think we have one of them. What's going to happen when some kid is sitting around going, geez, coach, I see we got a big game this weekend, and unless you can guarantee me an extra 10 grand, man, my hamstring's getting a little tight. When's that going to happen? Anyways, a lot of people were saying, Damon, when's Guy Haberman going to happen? Now. It's going to happen right now. What's going on, Guy? It's good to see you, pal. Thank you so much for joining. I understand that you had a busier morning than you expected, but I got you in the better late than never category. Always.
Oh, good.
How are you, pal?
Good to see you. My apologies. That one's on. That's a chest pat. My bad.
That's all right.
Accountability is big to me, Damon. I love when people say
I
that.
love it. I was afraid that the check hadn't cleared, and you're like, you know what? I'm walking away from this interview. I was promised more by Damon, and the money's just not right. How about that UNLV story? Have you seen that?
What's the UNLV story?
Okay, so Matthew Sluka, their starting quarterback, has basically said, I am redshirting and I am out because I was promised $100,000 by an assistant coach. The head coach says, well, that promise didn't come from me. So he's saying, I thought my NIL was going to be a lot different. You're not paying me the amount of money I want. I'm gone. I'm out. And again, I like player empowerment. I don't like quarterbacks walking away from a 3-0 team. And I have good news for you, though, Guy. Their next opponent up for UNLV is Fresno State. So I know it's going to work out for you.
I was almost at that game this week. Yeah, so I hadn't seen that story, but he is. I think one thing that's interesting, just like knowing, NIL is definitely much more in the front, kind of open than it was even 2 years ago. But going back into the days of the brown bag, a player not getting what he was promised is not new. But I know of one player in particular 3 years ago, who left the school because what he was promised, right? The $150,000 he was promised didn't show up. And I know, actually, now that I say that, I'm thinking of another player who went to a major program and stayed there for 1 year, but never actually got all the stuff that was promised. So, you had the Miami situation with Jaden Rashada, right? And we're going to give you the X amount of dollars. There's no one's obligated. The guy who runs the car dealership is not obligated to the head coach, and he's certainly not obligated unless there's a contract, like a real contract. Oh, we got this package. It's going to be, whatever, $7 million. I will say this. Did you say it's 100,000 or did you just make that number up?
No, it's 100,000 according to this ESPN story.
Gotcha. So, Damon, that is really cheap for a starting quarterback in college football.
100%
right now.
100%. That's the lifeblood of your offense's ability to function. The starting quarterback at Alabama or at Ohio State should be making NFL level money. I mean, they really should. It's just as big.
At least Brock Purdy money.
At least Brock money.
I know of one player who's making not $1 million, but well over $500,000 and is barely playing. Which there's a million. That's not some. I heard a story recently, but which is I think players would probably prefer to get the money they were promised, but not the playing time they were promised, versus the reverse, the playing time they were promised, but not the money they were promised. Right. I know. I'm not sure that this has been finalized yet. I think it probably has been. I just haven't looked into it because for me, it hasn't been basketball season yet. But I'm pretty sure there is a basketball, an MTE, they call them, multi-team events, right? So when you get to Vegas and you got 8 different teams there or 4 different teams there or whatever, right?
Right.
That's part of college basketball. Where I think it's one of the Vegas ones where the players are being promised. The players on the teams that are participating are being promised legally X amount of NIL however I don't know exactly how they're maneuvering it. Do you do a charity event in Vegas or something like that? But so it's a recruiting benefit to say, when you go into Damon Bruce's home, you say, Damon, we are playing in this event, which you will be paid for playing in because the sponsor is paying.
Right. We're going to the Maui Invitational. We're going to the Atlanta thing. We're going to, yeah. What a different.
And I think bowl games will have to be that way too, eventually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're absolutely going to have to either come up with the insurance policy that will put the player's mind at ease to play in the bowl game if the NIL deal had run out or whatever. I mean, there's going to be college players are very much about to have transactional relationships with their universities. This isn't going to be like I love this school. I wanted to be coached by this guy, and that's why I'm here. No, there's going to be, if the money's right, I'll stay. If the money's wrong, I'm walking. And it's the whole world that we're looking at is going to change dramatically. Already dramatic changes in Bloomington, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to that. You know, there's a part of it to me that's been better for college sports in the sense that it makes the coaches' lives harder, obviously. But from a fan standpoint, your team can immediately get better. And then on a larger scale, players that we've heard of being on the move, the guy that comes to mind for me a few years ago, there's two guys. West Coast Pac-12 football, RIP, not RIP, was not getting kind of the national attention they felt like they deserved. And then in one season, they added Bo Nix as the quarterback at Oregon and Michael Penix Jr. as the quarterback at Washington. And what was significant about it was that Bo Nix was already a college football household name because he'd started as a true freshman at Auburn. And Michael Penix was kind of a household name because he'd taken Indiana, on the road against Ohio State and played this awesome game. And so it really elevated those two programs because it was easy for people to talk about them. And I think college basketball especially has a problem where people can't easily talk about the sport because they don't know who the players are. And in football, when you look up and you go, wait a second, Indiana can have – the whole world wasn't talking about their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, a year ago, but he's not some freshman who needs 3 years to develop. He's a 4-year starter who steps in and immediately they're good at football. And I actually think that stuff is really good for the sport. Players who have kind of established themselves as productive players at a lower level of football where they're not getting a lot of attention, stepping into a higher level of football and being immediate impact players. Don't mistake that for me saying that college football is drowning in great quarterbacks, because it's not, but it never is.
Right. Look, anyone would be naive to say that part of Caitlin Clark's success and ability to sell out stadiums wherever she goes isn't just how good of a basketball player she is, but how much of a household name and a brand that she is. And she became that in college. College basketball and football had been losing name recognition among its players and on its rosters. And there is a chance now, I think, to attach more of it, because there's also going to be incentive to stay. You know, you can good luck your way into a draft, or you can stay right here and make another $800,000 guaranteed to stay in college. Like, people are going to choose that.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think college basketball needs it even more because they have players who leave after 1 year who are not anywhere near household names. College football, at least you have to stay for 3 years. But there's no doubt. I mean, is Cam Rising has become a college football household name as the quarterback at Utah, because he's been there for 7 years. You know, Dylan Gabriel is on his third program, and this time it's at Oregon, and he was already a household name in college football because he was just at Oklahoma, the quarterback. So in a way, I know it bothers a lot of people, but I think there are some benefits to the consumability of the sport.
So we'll come back to your trip to Bloomington now that you're a Big Ten Network broadcaster at the end of this conversation. But a lot of people, Guy, they tune into you, they watch you and your channel. By the way, subscribe to Guy Haberman. I always feel stupid to say subscribe to the guy who's got more subscribers than I do, but please subscribe to Guy Haberman. He's fantastic at what he does. And I want to open with this strange start to a 49ers season that has now included a flight to Munich for Christian McCaffrey. How would you thumbnail sketch the first 3 weeks here of 49ers football, Guy?
I mean, I guess it could be more of a disaster, but pretty disastrous, and no, it's like, this is 3 weeks of football. Are they suddenly going to get injury luck? They better. I mean, that's the good news about luck. I guess it can change quickly, but it feels like every injury that Kyle Shanahan has stepped to the podium and said, that shouldn't be a thing, has become a thing. And they don't have the depth behind Brock Purdy they had last year. They certainly don't have the depth behind Jordan Mason, the running back, that they had at running back even 3 months ago when everybody was healthy, when McCaffrey was healthy and Elijah Mitchell was healthy. And so They are walking a razor's edge. They are walking a razor's edge, and they don't have. To me, when your margin of error is thin, I'd probably rather have a great defense than a great offense, and they don't have a great defense right now. And the reason for that is I think that a great defense can be more consistent than even a and I don't know. I'm not saying this is a great offense, but it just requires so much precision from an offense to go out and score you 32 points when your defense, doesn't consistently stop the run. And the problem, one of the things they've always dealt with, as you know, Damon, and they've always had to overcome, is they're not a home run hitting offense. They just fundamentally, they would rather, I've always compared it to the Princeton basketball offense, like chest passes and backdoor cuts and precision.
Right.
And that means 8 and 9 and 10 play drives, not 2 play scoring strikes. And
Right.
they don't have receivers that separate down the field. And maybe Brock, if he had Justin Jefferson, would throw those balls, but they don't hit those plays.
Look, this is why the label of front runner is not really meant to be an insult to them. It is who they are. They can start a game, control a game, kill clock, keep your offense off the field, and that is the formula that has been quite successful for Kyle Shanahan since he's been here. And that's what makes that loss against the Rams that much more infuriating, because find me a better first quarter guy. Find me a first quarter that went into the Shanahan's about to win this game bucket as easily as that first quarter fit against the Rams. By the way, did you watch that like on your phone at the Indianapolis airport, or were you watching that at a bar in Bloomington?
I was home.
You fly right home.
The great thing about going east to west, as all my flights in the Big Ten are, it's a 6 a.m. Eastern flight.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
No. Actually, that night I got home that night. That was a noon Eastern game. So I got home before midnight on Saturday night.
So you didn't make it to Yonkos for dinner. We'll talk about that too. The 49ers do have a get-right opponent. And I know that one of the things that you and I do have in common is you never want to overlook an NFL team. You don't. Like even the Carolina Panthers starting Andy Dalton, which is easy to joke about, can show up and whoop that ass. And they just did, in Las Vegas. You don't want to dismiss any team. But if we had to stack teams that on paper are easy to dismiss, I mean, the Patriots are right up there. The 49ers do need to look good this weekend. By hook or crook, it doesn't even matter. That's the worst offensive line maybe in football. And if you don't see the amount of hits on Brissett that is even in the realm of what the New York Jets just did to him, that is going to be the first official uh-oh. Like even if the Niners win the game, but it's a clean pocket for Brissett most of the day, that's going to be a bad sign for all good things going forward.
Yeah, we've seen teams do this before, and 1 and 2 is not 4 and 7, but they don't look like they have a lot of room for error, and they've injured their room for error. Now, the NFC is deep but not great, right? But this team is not deep and not great right now. So, the Cardinals are going to pose a threat. Going to Seattle is going to pose a threat. They got the Chiefs and the Cowboys at home. They need this one, but they need a lot more than this one. And the Rams game, the reason when Deebo Samuel got hurt, I immediately said, it's going to be fine, was because they played the Rams and the Patriots, and they should have been able to win that game last week without Deebo, and they certainly should be able to win this week without Deebo Samuel. And I feel good about when they say Deebo's 2 weeks away, he usually is. That's not always the case with other players, but I think historically, when you think about Deebo Samuel, when they say it's a 2-week calf, it's not a big deal. It's usually not a big deal. The McCaffrey injury I felt differently about, and we're seeing that was correct, unfortunately, to feel less optimistic about the McCaffrey injury. But yeah, they to me, it's the biggest problem with the Rams was just the math problem. Was there's only one seed. You want to be at home. There were other things that were exposed, but I was really grappling with that game as it was it was going, because I felt very glass half empty about what I thought was going to be a win. They weren't they had many chances to win that game and still have it kind of suck. But
right.
It's a math problem. They're going to win that game, beat the Patriots, be 3-1 and move on. But we've seen Kyle Shanahan teams back themselves in the corners before.
Yeah, and I think he's got a pretty good track record of finding himself out of those corners. But let me just, let's project a little here. What if I told you Christian McCaffrey's, the news out of Germany is 9. No, you're not playing anymore this year. If Christian McCaffrey doesn't take a snap for the 49ers, where does their season end?
I don't think that's.
Are they a playoff team? Are they a playoff team without?
Yeah, they can win the NFC without Christian McCaffrey, but it's to me the bigger issue is the defense. Christian McCaffrey's obviously a game changer, but they got to fix the defense. If you said, guy, you can either fix the defense, make it a top 5 defense, or get Christian McCaffrey back. I would say make it a top 5 defense.
Yeah, I would. So, do you think they can make it a top 5 defense? I mean, what if I told you they don't have a free safety? Would you believe me?
Yeah. I mean, they're redundant at safety. Their third cornerback has been targeted like crazy successfully, which, okay, fine. That's your third cornerback is not supposed to be a lockdown corner, but if they're not going to get to here's the other thing, Devondre Campbell, so far teams do to Devondre Campbell. Last week, the Rams, exactly what the Niners would do to Devondre Campbell.
Right.
So
pick on him. Pick on him. A buddy of mine who's a Packers fan is like, and that's why he's yours. And I'm like, I get it. I thought that they were bringing in a much better player than he's revealed himself to be. I think it's time they got to look elsewhere. I can't believe that Ronnie Bell is still rostered today. To me, that guy's just standing in the way of what Jacob Cowing might be. We can't see Jacob Cowing in the name of Ronnie Bell's got to get some snaps. That just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But, I think Ronnie Bell, even though he was clearly one of the reasons they lost that game, is a single person. There is a larger problem with this team, which is that they don't look fast on defense other than Fred Warner. And the players they've brought in either last year or this year in free agency don't seem to be able. Well, we know Javon Hargrave is not physically going to be able to play. The 2 players they added this year, Isaac Yiadom and Devondre Campbell. Well, they added players on the defensive line, so we'll see. But, I don't know when Drake Greenlaw's coming back, but I don't think you hold your breath on that. They just the moves they've made to accentuate a team that is stacked with high-end players at many positions have not accentuated, And so as you go like, all right, well, how are they better? Are they better than they were last year? They were in the Super Bowl last year. Are they any better? In order for them to be better, Brandon Ayuk's in his prime. He needs to be a better player than he was last year. Nick Bosa's in his prime. He needs to be as good or a better player than he was last year. Trent Williams is not in his prime, but he needs to be the guy you're paying.
Right.
So now I think Brock Purdy might be a better player. He should be a better player, right? Given his age, his development, the fact that he didn't spend this offseason hurt. So he should be a better player.
I think he is. I think the argument that he is a better player is part of the start of this season. Brock is, if you are still on team, I'm not sure about Brock Purdy. I'm not sure you understand how quarterback play works in this league. Brock's been very good. He's hitting tight window throw after tight window throw because that's the only window that this team's weapons are presenting to him. I think he's been fine. I think he's been better than fine. If the entire success formula for the 49ers is now predicated on Brock Purdy, you are one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football, that's probably too big of an ask for him at this point in his career. But man, he's the least of any problems. I don't even have him on the list of problems.
Yeah. Are they going to end up on their fourth defensive coordinator in 5 years? Like, can they, I just don't know how they fit. They got time, a little bit of time. Like Nick Sorensen's defensive coordinated 3 games. But I think what you're looking at is you got a linebacker who wasn't their first choice. They wanted Eric Kendricks. You got a defensive coordinator that wasn't their first choice. You got a quarterback who wasn't their first choice too, and that's working out. So maybe not getting what you want every time is sometimes okay. But
I don't know who brought it up online, but someone was like, so you tried to hire Bill Belichick and Nick Sorensen was the backup plan? Like, isn't that?
Well, Jeff Ulbrich was the backup plan. right?
Right.
But like that can't be your backup plan. He works for another team.
Right. Yeah. Not being able to talk to him is something you should have pretty much counted on. And why would Saleh allow that? I mean, anyway, it is not the start that anyone expected, for sure, for the 49ers, but there is still a million-mile journey in front of them, and there's a lot that can go right for them still. There's a lot that can go wrong for other teams, but I think you are right. This is a week where if this defense doesn't take a step forward this week, they're going to have a little bit of a problem. My morbid curiosity with how Justin Fields turns out, having grown up a Bears fan, right? My morbid curiosity has me watching more Steelers football than recently, usually. And I'm just saying, dude, that TJ Watt plays at a speed Nick Bosa no longer plays at. I mean, there's a difference between that guy's a good defensive end and that guy's a game-wrecking defensive end. Right. And right now, there is a huge difference between the Nick Bosa that was and the Nick Bosa that is.
Yeah, maybe it's unfair, but they are paying players to carry the team, and they need them to help carry the team, you know? And I watch Nick Bosa, and I go, that guy's one of the best players in the NFL on defense. You look at all the PFF metrics, and it reflects it. Every player who votes in the NFL 100 votes him at the top of the league. But why don't the sack numbers reflect? Now, maybe he creates sacks for other players, right? Maybe Malik Collins or these guys wouldn't be getting sacks because they play with Nick Bosa, and they do because they play with Nick Bosa. But I would love 18 sacks. Right. Like that would make me feel good. Yeah, I'm not 16 sacks would make me feel good.
I'm not looking for Nick Bosa nuance. I don't need a mathematical formula to explain to me that he had a better game than I assumed. I need sacks. I'm sounding like Al Davis here. The quarterback must go down and go down hard. Like that needs to happen. And he needs to be chief among the guys. We have not used Leonard Floyd's name since the Jets game. And if you're telling me the only quarterback that he can still sack in this league is Aaron Rodgers, I got bad news. They're not back on the schedule again this year. So that's got to improve. Chris Kasurik, he was supposed to be the defensive lineman Svengali. If you're telling me that Yatir Gross-Matos is going to be the guy who changes the arc of the entire year, that's great. But he's going to have to be because they're running out of options. And again, the Hargrave injury, that ain't good. That ain't good at all. We got Diego coming in with a little super. We break for supers here, guy. 49ers facing an identity crisis. Losing the Vegas Super Bowl has had serious consequences, especially for the defense. Many star players were motivated by the Kansas City rematch. Thoughts on the effect of team culture? I don't know if this is a Super Bowl hangover that is weighing on the team as much as it is just you could not ask for the Niners promised us smooth entry point into 2024. Nothing has been smooth about this. Not the offseason, not the preseason, not the first 3 games of this season, and everything that they were looking for, they haven't found. But I don't think they haven't found it because they lost the Super Bowl. They just got their own problems. I mean, and I to me, it's in the rearview mirror. I don't think that there is a hangover. Super Bowl hangovers, by the way, are supposed to attach to teams that won the Super Bowl, not lost them. So I don't really get that at all. I don't know.
I don't think they're hungover from the Super Bowl. I just think they're not as good. I do think Super Bowl hangovers can apply to teams that lost them, especially when they lost again. Right. And you know how hard it is to get back, and you know how much needs to go your way. Right. As close as they were to winning a Super Bowl, they also were this close to losing to the Packers and to the Lions. So I think that, I feel that with 49ers fans right now is they're not just mad about losing to the Rams. They're mad about losing the Super Bowl.
Right. No one would be complaining about 1 and 2 with the 6th Lombardi trophy, but that's not true. People complain about everything, but
no, but it is a larger frustration with Kyle Shanahan that comes through in everything right now. And it has piled up, I don't see that from the team. What I see from the team is just that, they don't have a lot of speed on defense. That's what it looks like to me. Now maybe Hufanga is going to play maybe give me 2 more weeks and Talanoa Hufanga's playing every snap on defense instead of cycling in and out. Maybe Renardo Green's ready to contribute more. But I just,
You got an NIL deal with the Metal Club, by the way?
I wish. I have to buy hats from
Chef A, who, by the way, has been a member for 9 months, part of the initiated. Thank you very much, Chef A. When people say just do better, actually, how are they supposed to do better? I'm being serious. Is it coaching? Is it the training process? It's everything. I mean, it's a better game plan. It's whatever Brandon Staley was brought in to do with Nick Sorensen, that happening. It's making sure that you're not leaving Odom on Jefferson and handing the Minnesota Vikings the matchup they're looking for at the line of scrimmage. They've got to get better. Everyone needs to be better at their own job, Shanahan included, every player included. I didn't think that was a loss on Kyle, but it's also he's the head coach. So you can tangentially blame everything on him all at the same time too.
The fake punt was awful, right? That's a spot where you know they're going to that's exactly a point in the field where they very well might fake punt it. I thought with 6 minutes left in the game, and I said this after the game, they had players run out of bounds as that game went on,
right,
to stop the clock. Now, not every out of bounds play stops the clock, but in some spots they ran out of bounds. So they, like, to me, if you're running out of bounds with 6, are you aware that there's 6 minutes left, and you're also, but when there's 3 minutes, I'm not going to run out of bounds. So they just felt they are a slightly different team when they have a 10-point lead than when they are in a tie game, because they play a different way. Your boy, Curt Cignetti, the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, I did their game last week, as you know, Damon. You get to meet with the coaches, and he was talking about his philosophy. He's like, well, in football, all you're trying to do is you're trying to break the other man in the second half, which, it's just like classic football guy talk.
Right.
But is also true. And that is Kyle Shanahan's blueprint also, right? We're going to run the ball in the first half, and in the second half, we're going to keep running it, and you won't be able to take it anymore. It's great. It's very
right. It's got all the machismo you want on a football game.
And it's not, and it's authentic. Like, it's real. That is the game. But when they end up in games where that's not how it's going, they had a chance to break the Rams. They didn't. And then they ended up in some other game. It was like, what the hell was this game? They played so many big games where they break the opponent in the first, even like 10 minutes. It's like, we score a touchdown, strip sack Aaron Rodgers in the end zone. I'm thinking of a Packer game on like Monday or Sunday night. Strip sack Aaron Rodgers in the end zone. Now it's 14, and then it's snowballs. And I still think that they are that team, because they are still built that way. But you can't win every game that way. And I worry about Jordan Mason getting 30 carries a game with nobody else behind Jordan Mason. He's never had this type of workload. I think
I think Kyle's got to have some fucking conviction in some of the roster choices he's made. You kept Patrick Taylor. You cut Matt Breida to keep Patrick Taylor. Play him. Why is Garendo playing in front of him? Garendo has given you what? What have you seen from Garendo where you want more of that instead of what Patrick Taylor might be able to give you? Where is Jacob Cowing? You got snaps for Ronnie Bell, but Jacob Cowing can't play from scrimmage? Why? If it's because he's not ready yet, well, you're a month into your season. How the fuck is he not ready yet? Like, are your coaches coaching? What are you doing at practice? How is he not ready? That's the lack of conviction in his own depth chart bothers me about Kyle sometimes.
Well, I think his conviction is the guy that I trust that knows every wide receiver position is going to play. But we've watched Ronnie Bell. Like, he has a problem dropping the football.
Yeah.
So if Jacob Cowing doesn't know every position, so be it. Let's put him in positions to succeed. They tried it with Danny Gray. They were willing to put Danny Gray out there for 4 snaps once upon a time just to throw him a deep ball. Jacob Cowing, I know it's the preseason, stepped into a preseason game and it looked like he belonged.
Yeah.
So, to me, the conviction is like the ties go to the guy who knows everything. Well, they're at a point now where they need some of these. The only way they can infuse any talent into this team is for their rookie class to get opportunities to play.
Right. I mean, there's not enough time to wait for perfect to pass up pretty good, because perfect might not come. And it's amazing. It's almost like the Steve Kerr leash. Like, for anyone who's young on the team, the minute you do something that Steve doesn't like, you're going to be benched and you're maybe get a coach DNP for a week, where Klay Thompson can literally come out here, blindfold himself, shoot at the other bucket by accident, and he gets to play as much as he wants. Like, that drove me nuts. And there's a little 49ers, Kyle's got his guy. Maybe this is what Willie Snead was talking about. Kyle's got his guys, and you can't crack that code unless you're one of his guys. I don't know.
Yeah, they're running out of options, so it's a little early to be out of options. Now, here's the good news: Ricky Pearsall is going to return from a gunshot wound at some point soon. That is
right.
That's potentially helpful.
Kittle's coming back. Brandon Ayuk is going to look like Brandon Ayuk at some point this year, right? I mean,
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah. I think by Christmas, everyone will be like, there he is. We're okay now. I think that's going to happen, but it hasn't happened early. And I do think that Trent Williams is going to round himself into better shape. He has been a weak link.
Part of 4 or 5 pressures against Minnesota.
Yeah. He's the kind of guy who doesn't give up 4 or 5 pressures in an entire year, much less a game. And so, all right. That's a guy. I said I wanted you to come on here. We'll talk a little 49ers. I think our official position is got to get better. Currently, not too good.
Still plenty of time. Done it before.
Right. I said, well, before you were here today, I was like, if the entire NFL season was a drive from San Francisco to San Jose, we haven't even passed the airport yet. There's still a lot of journey in front of us. So calm down, everyone. But also, if they lose to the New England Patriots, we can hit the panic button with our foreheads. I will grant you that at the same time, too. Did I just say we? Ugh. There's no we. I don't play for any of these.
Oh, now you're not a we guy.
I'm not a we. I never was a we guy, unless we're talking about what I hope now are your Indiana Hoosiers. So, Guy, I texted you last night. I said, I've been rooting for this team for 30 years. I've had a good football team for a month. And of those 30 years, I went down to the Rose Bowl. There aren't many stadiums that deliver quite like going to the Rose Bowl. That was incredible. The San Gabriel Mountains are as beautiful as you expected them to be. That stadium is incredible. And at the end of the game, after absolutely depantsing UCLA, my friends and I were like, we don't even know what to go do. Like, what do we? Is this where we sing the fight song? Should we go over to that part of the stadium where they're going to walk out of the door? Like, what do you do when your football team wins a big? I don't know. I've never gotten on an airplane to watch Indiana play football and flown home with a W. And then Cignetti seems to be the guy who has coached some confidence. You sat down with him. Everyone watching this video might stop watching it now because it's time for Guy to indulge me about Indiana football. How did it wash over you? What did you see? What did you like? What do you not like?
They're back, or they're here.
Yeah!
I like it. I mean, they got, their offensive coordinator's named Mike Shanahan.
I do.
Yeah.
And
he's great. I mean, they got really good coaching staff. They're interesting. It's a team that brought, I love these coaches who've won at another level. Kalen DeBoer did it. And Kurt Cignetti did it, won at multiple levels, right? Like places where you don't get all the stuff when you're at James Madison. And he brought 12 players with him, 12 or 13 players, and they've hit the ground running. Big Ten, I mean, they've we haven't really gotten in the meat of the season of the schedule yet for the Big Ten. So, like Illinois looks pretty good. They just went on the road and beat Indiana. Nebraska. But no, I like them. I do like the Indiana football team. I think
the deal. They go up to Northwestern. They win this week. They're 5-0, and they're ranked. I mean, you got to. There's no such thing as a 5-0 Big Ten team that doesn't get ranked. You got to rank these guys.
Yeah, they were 34th, I think, last week. You said they are ranked or they're not ranked?
No, not ranked. Yeah, I think they're 27th. They're close. They're right on the edge now. They're getting. They're among those receiving votes, guys.
Yeah, they got Maryland this week, so they play 8 home games. Bloomington.
Yeah,
Bloomington. They need to sell that stadium. When was the last time they sold that stadium out? You think?
When Ohio State comes to town. It's so much easier to get a cheap ticket in Bloomington than it is for anyone who lives in Columbus. That's when you factor in the gas and your hotel too. So, when the joke at Indiana used to be, Oh, with Nebraska joining the Big Ten, we'll have 3 opportunities for that aerial shot. Whenever we're playing Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Nebraska, it'll look like a red sellout. And so then you take your blimp shot. They do need, look at it this way. There's been enough mental torture for Indiana football fans to be, always suspect of the rug being pulled out from underneath them. But I do hope it's time that people, officially show up and go. And it was a gorgeous day when you were there.
It was. It was hot.
It was very hot, very hot. What do you think of that press box? It's about as high up as you get in football press boxes, man. That thing is up there.
So the broadcast booth is 2 levels above the press box. I didn't go to the press box. The broadcast booth was high.
Way up there.
Yeah. It was high. It was, I like the stadium. The stadium looks good from the outside. It feels historic.
Right.
For
something that decidedly isn't. It does.
Yeah, it looks good. So I enjoyed that. The football facility.
The Mellencamp Center. John Mellencamp built the football facility.
Who didn't go to Indiana, right? He's just from Bloomington. Is that correct?
So he went to Indiana and then dropped out. All great musicians get to college and they're like, fuck this. I'm going to go play gigs.
I asked somebody, I was like, what's like the Indiana Mount Rushmore of media people? And they said, you got Jane Pauley. You got Joe Buck. I'm forgetting somebody.
I hope my boy Tom Ackerman gets there eventually. He's the sports director at KMOX, and he might be in line.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he can get Don Fisher's job one day at IU. But who else? We got a couple of other significant media members that I'm thinking about right now.
Mark Cuban, I guess technically is.
Mark Cuban is on the Mount Rushmore.
But no, they were somebody else who's who's huge. Buck, Jane Pauley, and I don't know. Damon Bruce.
Not anymore.
He used to have a radio show, but I don't know now what he's doing.
This guy, I don't know. He was.
If you're not on radio, are you even in media?
I'm pretty sure the answer is now officially yes. Did you get to take in any of Bloomington? Did you make it to Kirkwood? Did you enjoy all the trappings of Bloomington?
Yeah, we went to. I went to a place called Nick's on Thursday night.
Hell yeah! I hope you got a jelly jar.
I don't know what. No, I didn't. I don't know what that is.
They have little great cups that are little jelly jars. Did you play Sink the Bismarck? No. That's a hard.
I ordered a pizza.
Game. Okay.
I went to the bar, and then I went to a place called Uptown. We went to a place called Uptown on Friday for dinner.
Yep.
And then there was a really good ice cream place around the corner. Place was it was buzzing in Bloomington. It was buzzing. There were a lot of people out. It was that fall, summer, Midwestern night is pretty hard to beat. It's.
Well, I'm glad that you went, and I'm glad that you had a good time. I remember when I was texting with him like a month ago, and I was asking him, "What are you going to do post Pac-12 network?" And he's like, "Don't tell anyone, but I might have something going on with the Big Ten." I'm like, "Oh, dude, you're going to get sent to Bloomington right away." And is that your first official? The Bloomington was your first assignment?
No, my first. We did Oregon week 1, USC week 2. Nebraska. We went to Nebraska 2 weeks ago.
Pardon me for not knowing that. But by the way, you did an awesome job. You did an excellent job in the broadcast. You really did. And I would have said that had I not even known you. I would have been like, this guy's good.
I appreciate that. Yeah. We've had some big games, and then we're off this week, and we're doing USC at Minnesota in 2 weeks, or a week and a half. So
that'll be fun.
That'll be good.
You got a trip to Columbus? You got a trip to the Big House?
I don't think so. I think we may go to the Rose Bowl coming up. The way the Big Ten Network, each team has to be on twice. I think Michigan has already been on twice. I'm not sure if Ohio State's been on twice. This will be USC's second in a couple weeks. I don't know, but so I don't know. I probably not.
Will your Big Ten Network assignments take you into their basketball season? Are you going to be doing basketball?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So if you need a spotter for an IU game, I'm your guy.
They're big on spending $850 on flights to fly a spotter from California to Bloomington.
Hey, I might come myself.
Maybe
I'll pay for myself.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll send me to. I have a feeling I'll be on the West Coast for hoops, but we'll see. No.
Well, hey, maybe you're my entree to the that first IU game at Pauley Pavilion. I still text Bob Myers about this. I'm like, when Indiana hits UCLA, Bob, I'm gonna tap into our friendship for some tickets.
Yeah. Quick, all right, quick, Damon. What is 63? We're going to break. It's 63-47. Indiana leads by. Do the math. Yeah.
You're going to need another spotter.
Yeah.
See,
I don't do it either. Like if we're going to commercial break and it's like, and the Hoosiers are up by 63-47 score. I mean, 16, but
we'll be right back with the math after this quick break.
I've done that a couple times where you're like, they're up by 17. Like, oops.
I'm looking for round numbers. I'm looking for some even
1,000%.
Yeah. Guy, as always, man, it's great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. I love that you're doing Big Ten games now. What do you think of the final question here? Well, you can go. What do you think of the trying to reform Pac-12 that we're seeing right now? I think Utah State University is the, seventh team on board with them now?
I believe seventh, yeah. Well, the Bulldogs are in. Yeah.
Fresno State?
Fresno State's in. You didn't see that? Bulldogs are going to be in the Pac-12 in 2026.
Is it really, should we even bother calling it the Pac-12, or is it just this the Mountain West wearing a Pac-12 t-shirt?
I will, 2026 feels like a long ways away in college sports. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I'm rooting for Washington State and Oregon State, of course, and also it just plans made in 2024 for 2026 feel like a long way away. Especially, it always felt that way. I'm not sure why it's different. I hadn't thought about why it feels different now, but it definitely feels.
Well, here's the thing.
Now.
It's not just a changing college landscape in terms of conference maps and geography. There's a massive shift going on with the networks that are the lifeblood of distributing everything. Basically, conferences are no longer actual conferences as much as they are content bundlers. That's what networks are now. We're going to sell you our slate of content. And I mean, forget about the SEC. There's going to be a Netflix conference. There's going to be a Hulu conference. There's going to be an Amazon Prime conference. And that's pretty much the way it looks like we're going. I mean, it's all about not the TV deal, but the streaming partner that you will be walking into the future with. And since we haven't even identified all of them, it's really hard to predict anything.
Yeah, I think the thing that will happen, and this has been predicted by a lot of people, right, is that a certain level of college football separates. And I think the separator is the playoff expanding and the money that comes from the broadcast, quote unquote, broadcast networks. Because once you eliminate your kind of group of four, your power four versus group of five games, right? Those games have existed for a long time and have kept all those two levels of football within one level of football, Division I football, FBS football, right? 133, 134 teams. And the reason they stayed together is because there wasn't a playoff and the high level teams needed to be undefeated or try to be undefeated. Well, if you don't need to try to be undefeated anymore, then why are those two levels of football the same? Like,
right.
Because the television rating is going to be lower for Fresno State versus Michigan than it would be if Michigan just played Georgia or Vandy, or well, I don't know if it's Vandy, but whoever, right? So that's where it separates, is when you no longer have to be undefeated or a one-loss team to participate in the postseason. Then there's really no incentive to play those games anymore because your fans are less interested in them. The networks are less interested in them. And the networks are less interested in them because everyone's less interested.
Right. So I noticed that the spin coming out of Ann Arbor after they lose at home to Texas was, I'd rather lose at home to Texas than play a meaningless game against the MAC where we win by 40. Like, this is better for us, and this is why we're a big school and you ain't. And I think it was Portnoy who said that. And I kind of agree. Like, I would rather see Michigan versus Texas than Michigan versus Cream Puff on the way to just making sure that they're intact when they play Ohio State at the end of the year.
Yeah, you'd rather win a game, but all the other stuff that leads up to it, you'd rather tailgate for a Texas game. You'd rather wake up early for a Texas game. You'd rather fly in for a Texas game. You'd rather buy a keg for you and your friends for the Texas game. You'd rather talk about the Texas game, and you'd rather watch the Texas game. And the result, when it matters, when it's not life and death, right, to win or lose because you still have a shot at the playoff,
right,
allows you to just enjoy it as a like. You know, you see it all the time in the NFL versus college football. It's so funny to me. In college, you lose a game, and it's death. And it's like, we got to reevaluate everything. You know, the Chiefs lose a game. It's like, well, they lost a game, you know. And it's just the reason we feel that way is because the outcome of losing, the punishment for losing in college football used to be so severe, which was cool. I like that. But not as much as I like watching Michigan and Texas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Guy, you got anything you want to promote? Anything that you're hucking on your channel this week? What do you got?
Yeah, if you're a prize, I don't know. I don't want to counteract. Prize Picks promo code Guy.
Sure. Why not?
You don't.
No, sorry, Bet US. This is Guy.
It's different. It's not the same category.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, Puesto Mexican Artisan Kitchen. Go see them. 2 locations at Levi Stadium. Very good food. Excellent food.
Ooh, I did not know.
2 locations in the Bay Area, locations in Orange County and San Diego.
Good to see you, Haberman. Thanks so much for joining me, man.
Great to see you, Damon.
I did. I texted him like 30 times. I'm like, oh, you went to Bloomington. You got to come on now. You got to come on. He came on. Thank you very much, Guy. Take care.
All right, brother.
There he is. The one and only Guy Haberman. Fantastic at what he does. Get yourself a broadcasting guy. That's a football guy. Literally, Guy Haberman. Thanks so much. We have we've reached the end of another broadcast, which means it's time for a little history lesson. Are you ready for a little history today? We'll give you your history on the way out the door. We begin with happy birthdays, one of which we've already discussed on Wake Up. Happy birthday to John Lynch. Hall of Fame safety, 49ers general manager John Lynch turns 53 years old today. Scottie Pippen turns 59 years old today. Second most important Chicago Bull of all time. How about this for a power Hollywood couple? Michael Douglas turns 80 years old today. His wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones, 55. Husband and wife share the same birthday. All I'm going to say is that you say Catherine Zeta-Jones, her dipping under the string with the bell on it while they're practicing the heist and entrapment. It's why she's famous. God, she looked good in that. Catherine Zeta-Jones. The Welsh Catherine Zeta-Jones, beautiful woman, 55 years old today. Her husband, Michael Douglas, 80 years old. No Tippin Pippin and John Lynch all having birthdays today. Today in 1962, Sonny Liston became the world heavyweight boxing champion with a first-round knockout of Floyd Patterson in Chicago. That was a big deal when it happened. Kids, look it up if you don't believe me. Today in 2016, golfing legend Arnold Palmer passed away. Golfing legend Arnold Palmer passed away today. Arnie's Army was such a big deal. If you think that Tiger Woods was famous in your lifetime, you have no idea what golf fame really was, because Arnold Palmer in his lifetime was just like the only golfer everybody in America cared about. Arnie was a real big deal and a gentleman of the game. Passed away today in 2016. And finally, because we always like to really dip a little history into today's in history, not just sports, not just birthdays. Today in 1777, Philadelphia, which at the time was America's capital, was occupied by British forces during the American Revolution. The next time America's capital got attacked was January 6th of a few years ago. So, make sure you're registered to vote. Thank you very much for tuning in today. By the way, I'll tell you, all those British forces who did go into Philadelphia with a little gusto, every single one of those pussies would eventually drop their musket and lose. USA, USA. I'm heading to the Coliseum tonight. You will hear from me tonight at the Coliseum. I'll be hopping on YouTube with a video or two, posting something on Twitter, I'm sure. My last game ever at the Coliseum tonight. And when I say last game ever, I mean the A's will probably be back there opening day next year because there's nothing John Fisher doesn't fuck up. Especially that letter. Oh, that was ridiculous. It was awesome hanging out with you today. Thank you very much. Hit like and subscribe if you have not. Make sure you take good care of my sponsors. Again, this live stream powered by BetUS. We thank, as always, my good friends at the Dubliner, who I'll be hanging out with at the game tonight. Go to the Dubliner in West Portal, pick up a sandwich at Ike's. By the way, you see that awesome helmet, that custom helmet behind me? You see this 49ers behind me, that helmet? You can go to the link in the description of this video. Green Gridiron, mini helmets, real helmets, college helmets, actual helmets, replica helmets, anything that you could possibly think of under the category of helmet. Green Gridiron's got it. Check out the link in the description of this video. Make sure you use promo code Bruce when you check out, and you will save money, which everyone likes to do. Thank you for spending some of your very valuable time with me today. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Haberman. Thanks to all of you for watching. Like and subscribe, and please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone.